It was one of the most charming sitcoms of the 1960s. A blonde Jeannie, a flustered astronaut, 4 seasons of perfect chemistry. The ratings were steady, the fans were loyal, NBC had a reliable hit on their hands, and then it all came crashing down. The mistakes that were made, they became a cautionary tale for sitcoms for the next half-century. This is the rise and tragic fall of I Dream of Jeannie. Let's start from the top. In 1964, Screen Gems, the TV production arm of Columbia Pictures, was looking for their next hit. They already had one, Bewitched, on ABC. A witch married to a mortal man with that famous twitching nose and non-stop domestic chaos. When it launched, it was the second most watched show in America overnight. Screen Gems saw dollar signs and thought, why stop at just one magical woman when we could have 2? They recruited Sidney Sheldon, a Hollywood screenwriter who'd later become a best-selling novelist, to come up with something similar. Sheldon pitched a concept inspired by the 1964 film The Brass Bottle. An astronaut crash lands on a desert island, finds a 2,000-year-old genie in a bottle, and she follows him home to Florida. It was Bewitched, but in a bottle. With an astronaut, Sheldon had one casting rule: the genie couldn't be blonde, too similar to Bewitched Samantha. After dozens of failed auditions, he broke his own rule. Barbara Eden had co-starred in The Brass Bottle, the very film that inspired the show. For the male lead, they cast Larry Hagman, a 34-year-old Broadway actor grinding away in bit parts. He was the son of legendary stage star Mary Martin, which meant he grew up in her shadow. He was talented but unknown, hungry for stardom, desperate to prove himself. Bill Daly signed on as Roger Healy, Tony's goofy best friend. Hayden Rourke played Dr. Bellows, the suspicious psychiatrist who never quite caught them. The pieces were in place. I Dream of Jeannie premiered on NBC on September 18th, 1965 at 8 p.m. The ratings were solid, the 27th most popular show on TV. Not Bewitched numbers, but respectable. More importantly, critics noticed something special. The chemistry between Eden and Hagman was electric. The premise was pure 1960s wish fulfillment. Astronaut finds beautiful Jeannie. She's madly in love with him from the moment he opens her bottle. He's terrified. Terrified of her magic. Terrified NASA will find out, completely oblivious to his own feelings. Eden became an instant sex symbol. That midriff-bearing costume, carefully designed to hide her belly button because network censors wouldn't allow it to be shown, made her a household name. The show transitioned to color in Season 2. The iconic animated opening debuted with that catchy theme song. Jeannie's purple bottle, actually a 1964 Jim Beam bourbon decanter someone grabbed from a liquor store, became one of the most recognizable props in television history. By Season 3, the show was comfortably settled. Not a breakout hit, but steady at 29 in the Nielsen ratings. It was profitable and reliable. Both Eden and Hagman were now stars. But of course, there was trouble in paradise. Larry Hagman was never happy. According to Barbara Eden's 2012 memoir and Sidney Sheldon's autobiography, Hagman wanted more. He wanted to be a star like his mother. He felt Tony Nelson was a second-string character. He complained constantly about scripts. But it went deeper than that. Hagman was taking drugs, specifically Bontril, a mild amphetamine his wife had been prescribed for weight loss. He'd been taking it for 5 years without knowing its psychological effects. Eden later revealed that Hagman made no secret about the fact that he was drinking too much and taking drugs through many of the show's years. And it showed. Season 1 was relatively calm, but by Season 2 things got weird. Hagman decided to quit tobacco and amphetamines cold turkey. A noble idea, but disastrous execution. Quitting both simultaneously made him angry, nervous, depressed, and physically ill. The incidents started piling up. One day, a loud air conditioner on set annoyed him. His solution, grab a fireman's axe and try to silence it. Instead, he accidentally cut the power to the entire soundstage. Hagman was convinced he'd never work again. NBC actually came up with a plan to replace him with Darren McGavin. Barbara Eden talked them out of it. She told the network it would be foolish to switch actors mid-show. Hagman later thanked her for saving him, but the chaos didn't stop. Sidney Sheldon brought in a therapist to work with Hagman. The therapist's advice, very much in keeping with the anything-goes ethos of the 1960s, was to smoke marijuana and drink champagne on set to help him relax. Hagman didn't do anything by half measures. He started every day at the studio by drinking vast quantities of champagne. He smoked pot during breaks. Eden wrote that instead of being nervous and confrontational, Hagman was now different, but still unpredictable. The incidents escalated. On one occasion, when Hagman didn't like a script, he threw up all over the set. Eden didn't stick around to figure out if it was nerves or method acting. She fled to her dressing room. Another time, Hagman relieved himself on the I Dream of Jeannie set in frustration and anger at what he saw as the show's shortcomings and the second-string status of his character. But the most shocking incident happened when a group of nuns visited the set. They were touring the Flying Nun on the soundstage next door and were invited to visit I Dream of Jeannie as well. About 10 sweet, elderly nuns in their black and white habits, hands folded, excited to meet the cast. Hagman took one look at them, grabbed an axe, and started swinging it around his head. He began hacking at cables frantically until someone grabbed the axe from him and frog-marched him off the set. The shaken nuns were escorted out of the building. No visitors were ever allowed on the Jeannie set again. Despite all this, Eden maintained respect for Hagman. She wrote in her memoir that she thought he was a terrific actor and a warm, kind human being. It appeared that nothing could touch their on-screen chemistry. Well, that is until the network stepped in. By 1969, as season 4 wrapped, NBC wanted more. The show was profitable, sure, but the ratings had been a roller coaster. They rebounded in season 4, but not enough considering the show was moved to a premium time slot. To the network, the numbers just weren't good enough. Enter Mort Werner, NBC's head of programming. Werner looked at the numbers and saw a show stuck in neutral. He needed a ratings boost, something big, something that would get people talking. His solution? A wedding. Werner picked up the phone and called Sidney Sheldon with an ultimatum. If you want a 5th season, Jeannie and Tony are getting married. Sheldon's response was immediate and visceral. The fun of the show is the sexual tension between Jeannie and her master. Once you marry them, that's gone. You have nothing left to work with. Werner didn't care. The wedding was happening. Take it or leave it. Sheldon was trapped, and ultimately he took it, but he knew it was a death sentence. When word reached Barbara Eden, she was vocally opposed. In a 2015 interview with Today, she said, "The marriage ruined the show." Her reasoning was simple. Jeannie wasn't human. She was an entity. Mixing a human with an entity broke the entire mythology of the show. Larry Hagman knew it too. He later said he told them that marrying the characters would end the ball game. He started looking for a new job right away. Both stars predicted the end, and they were forced to do it anyway. The cast and crew were united that this was a terrible idea. But the network overruled them all. The wedding was happening. NBC's publicity department went all in. 1 week before the episode aired, they staged a fake wedding for Eden and Hagman at Patrick Air Force Base in Florida. They invited TV writers from across the country. The governor of Florida showed up to cut the cake. It was pure spectacle, desperate publicity. Fans saw through it immediately. They hated it. Then came the train wreck. December 2nd, 1969, Season 5, Episode 11, The Wedding. The plot was a mess from the start. NASA wanted photos of the wedding, but Jeannie's couldn't be photographed. So Jeannie blinked up a mannequin to pose for pictures while she stood invisible next to Tony during the ceremony. Here's the problem. Jeannie had appeared in photographs in earlier episodes multiple times. The writers were scrambling, inventing problems that didn't exist, desperately trying to justify an episode nobody wanted to make. But the big question was, would the network's big gamble pay off? Well, initial ratings were decent. People tuned in for the spectacle, but then nothing. The magic, literal and figurative, was gone. The wedding was the moment the show jumped the shark before jumping the shark was a thing. Fans agreed. The entire dynamic that made the show work had evaporated. Behind the scenes, it was even worse. Hagman, knowing the show was doomed, became so despondent that he stopped speaking to everyone. He flatly refused to talk to Barbara Eden or anyone else on set. Eden later wrote that after the wedding episode, they filmed 15 more episodes. But everyone knew it was just a matter of time. Only 13 episodes aired after The Wedding. And in May 1970, I Dream of Jeannie aired its series finale. What's crazy, though, is that Larry Hagman didn't even know the show had been canceled. He went on vacation to South America after filming wrapped. When he returned to Los Angeles, he stopped by the studio to grab something from his dressing room. A security guard told him, "The show's over. Talk about life without smartphones." Anyway, the collapse of Jeannie and Mort Werner's wedding ultimatum became legend, a cautionary tale whispered through Hollywood writers' rooms for the next 50 years. The lesson? Don't marry your leads to boost ratings. The moment you resolve the tension, you kill the show. But some shows didn't learn. In the early 80s, in Mork and Mindy's 4th season, Mork and Mindy got married, and they had a baby who was a full-grown man. It was a desperate move on the heels of continuous studio tampering that rapidly killed the momentum of what was a smash hit. The show was canceled at the end of the 4th season. And then there's Moonlighting. In 1985, ABC debuted the detective dramedy starring Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. The chemistry between Matty Hayes and David Addison was electric. You could cut the sexual tension with a Ginsu. Creator Glenn Gordon Caron kept them apart for 3 seasons. Then, near the end of season 3, they slept together, and the show collapsed. Sure, Shepherd got pregnant, Willis went to shoot Die Hard, and they spent most of season 4 in separate cities, but the narrative that stuck, putting the leads together, killed the show. The Moonlighting curse was born. And everyone cited I Dream of Jeannie as the original proof. And then you have shows that bucked the trend, like Cheers. Sam and Diane got together at the end of season 1. Ratings more than doubled, but the writers knew the secret to a show's longevity was to keep the tension going. So they spent the next few seasons breaking them up just to get that tension back. And by 1994, when Friends premiered, the lesson was gospel. David Crane and Marta Kaufman knew their show lived or died on Ross and Rachel. They gave them moments, first kiss, time together in season 2, the infamous break. But they didn't get back together for good until the final episode. 10 years of torture. Then came The Office in 2005. Showrunner Greg Daniels had a specific rule. The Jim-Pam storyline could often only get 1 scene a week. Jim and Pam got together at the end of season 3. They got married in season 6. The Office ran for 9 seasons. It's now considered one of the greatest sitcoms ever made. The difference? The Office didn't marry Jim and Pam to save the show. They did it because it was the natural progression of the story. It was time, and there were enough other characters and storylines to keep people interested. I Dream of Jeannie's wedding was a desperate attempt to boost ratings. A network executive's Hail Mary without understanding the consequences. And that created a fear that shaped television for 5 decades. Writers became terrified of putting their leads together. They stretched tension to absurd lengths. All because, in 1969, Mort Werner decided he knew better than the creator, the writers, and the actors, and was catastrophically wrong. So the next time you watch Ross say Rachel's name at his wedding, or Jim propose to Pam at a gas station, or any will they won't they couple navigate that impossible dance, remember, that tension's lasting longer because of a blonde Jeannie and a troubled astronaut. If you love this deep dive into TV history, hit subscribe and drop your favorite I Dream of Jeannie moment in the comments below.